You're literally giving me no room.
It'll be all right. I promise you're going to be okay.
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Long Shot Podcast. Of course, brought to you by 342 Productions. I'm your host, Duncan Robinson, here once again, as always, with Davis Reed. And we're excited to be with you guys for another episode.
We always are. I have a question for you because this is episode 22. You were formerly number 22, but you've made a switch as a professional to 55.
Yeah, so once upon a time, this would have been the golden episode.
Right, I know. But now we've got a ways to go.
Yeah, now we've got a ways to go.
We're hoping we get to 55.
Hopefully we last
right.
until 55.
But why the
that?
switch?
That in and of itself would be an accomplishment. But yeah, actually, you really teed this one up for me.
Yeah.
So basically, it's actually, surprisingly enough, I get that question as much as maybe any other question outside of like shooting or... Yeah.
Or what?
I get some other... Never mind.
Wait, what else do you get asked? Now I'm curious.
Well, like if people... I get like, do you play basketball a lot? Is what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
And very rarely... I usually say sometimes is my answer. Sometimes I play.
We were asked that the other day, actually, and when we said volleyball.
Yeah, volleyball is always
volleyball.
Crew. Any sport that requires length. I think is a reasonable answer. But I get asked why 55 a lot. And the reasoning, I'm just going to bring the cat out of the bag here, is that my whole life I've worn twos. I wore 2 in high school. I wore 20 in high school. I wore 22 in college. Always been 2s. And when I started to play professionally, so I wore 2 in Sioux Falls when I was in the G League. And when I had the opportunity to choose a number for the Heat, we had Luke Babbitt, who was 22. We had Justice Winslow, who was 20. And we had Wayne Ellington, who was 2. Shaquille O'Neal, 32, was retired.
Right.
12 was an option, but I think actually at that time, Jarnell Stokes had already snagged that one. He had some years over me, so he got priority at that point. He was in training camp my first year, so I was quickly running out of options with nowhere to turn.
A lot of 2s off the board.
Yeah, and that's when I thought to myself, you know what? Let's flip these 2s upside down.
Whoa.
Let's go 55. And honestly, I always thought 55 kind of looked cool on jerseys.
White chocolate.
Especially for guards. But I realized it actually looks cooler for like point guards when you're like small. Like I'm like big enough where it doesn't look as cool. But it's also kind of an homage to Jason Williams in that
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of his game. Obviously won a championship in Miami and donned the 55 proudly.
Yes.
And really put on for the double nickel, if you will. But yeah, so... Now I'm 55, and now it's like I feel like I've embraced it. I feel like the community at large has embraced me as 55, whatever that means. But I honestly I see that as my number moving forward. I really do.
If you're putting what are the odds on a number switch at any point?
Very low.
Yeah, I like 55 for you.
I wonder
feels right.
If 55 is retired anywhere in the league. Maybe Dikembe Mutombo. Did someone retire?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But I like 55. I'll probably run with it. But at least for now.
So you're not coming in as a rookie like, hey, Justice, I really need 20, man.
No.
Move over.
So that, interesting NBA tidbit. When players change teams and somebody is wearing their number, quote unquote, their number, whatever that means, a lot of times, especially if you're older, been in the league a little bit, you buy that number off of them.
Yeah.
And that price range can vary depending on who you are. I think there was a lot of fun kind of media stuff coming out of Brooklyn when James Harden first got there and Landry Shamet was wearing his number. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exactly sure what went down, what type of exchange happened, but
it's a yearly salary that's being thrown around potentially.
Yeah, for some.
For like the average American.
Yeah. Oh. Likely, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to pull up some like U.S. data and statistics here, but yeah. I mean, it's a sizable amount of money, but like again, it's case to case. But yeah, so to put that in context, my per diem was not going to cut it on purchasing a number from any of those guys.
You weren't getting 20 off Justice Winslow for like a couple $100.
Yeah, because that's basically at that point what I was working with, was on a two-way contract. And at that point, when we're picking numbers, had not been paid outside of per diem, which, not to be disrespectful to per diem. That's a quality amount of money, but it's not moving the needle in the locker room in terms of enticing somebody to give up a number that maybe they've grown a certain level of attachment to.
No, that's fair. It is. It's an interesting situation because for certain guys, it's a given. Like if LeBron's coming to your team, he's getting 23 or 6. I don't even know if he's having to pay. He's just that's my number now. But certain guys, yeah, they're having to. It becomes a bidding war.
Well, I still think. I wonder. I think the Landry James example is a great one. I'm sure there was some exchange. I don't know what happened behind closed doors. Obviously, there was the public social media interaction that everyone kind of enjoyed with the the Rolexes and the Apple Watches and the sticky buns, all that stuff. But it's definitely an underrated, maybe like not so much talked about side of trades.
Landry's giving that number up.
Yeah, at some point there's going to be enough pressure there where you just kind of got to read the room.
There's a power structure.
Yes. If one thing exists in the NBA, it's that there is a power structure.
Yeah. Well, and shout out to Landry. He's a Kansas City guy, so no disrespect to Landry, but if James Harden wants your number, you're giving James Harden 13.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of James Harden, let's talk NBA playoffs a little bit.
Well, he's not in the playoffs anymore.
Well, right.
I like the attempt of the transition though. That was good.
Yeah. The conference finals are shaking up to be honestly somewhat interesting. I think people have kind of were knocking the teams left, but the reality is both those series have proven to be interesting. I thought the Suns were going to close it out 4-1 in Phoenix, didn't do so. At this point, actually, by the time you're listening to this, we're recording this prior to the game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So maybe that series is over. Who knows?
Yeah.
But at least when you're listening to this, I know for a fact the Eastern Conference Finals is still going on. And that's actually proven to be an interesting series. Not a lot of close games, but still, nonetheless, with the back and forth, it's been interesting.
Yeah, and now it's starless, at least for the moment. With Trae out and Giannis out, it changes the landscape a little bit.
How dare you disrespect Solomon Hill like that?
Yeah, well, it's like the
Solo is my guy.
Solomon Hill and the Atlanta Hawks.
All right, I'm actually not here for the Solomon Hill slander, but I would say I think Chris Middleton's a star. He's a multi-time All-Star. He's on
Sorry,
Team USA.
let me clarify. It's not starless, but it's missing the two biggest stars.
Yeah,
is that fair?
Yeah,
I'm with you. I think the series are totally up for grabs. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say by the time this episode comes out, neither series will be over.
I'll push back on this idea that there has to be stars for it to be good basketball, which I guess you didn't really say, but it can still be.
No, I'll take that. I'll take that angle.
It can still be entertaining. It can still be a high level of basketball. If anything, I think it adds a dynamic to the series in terms of all right, who's going to step up? You look at particularly with the Hawks, right? You look at Trae Young, a guy whose usage is going to be around 30% basically every single game. It's okay, now where do these shots come from? Who gets to step into those moments? And honestly, a Hawks team where it's kind of full of guys who are going through this for the first time. It's a pretty cool opportunity. I know, last year when we were going through our run and we had injuries, when Goran went down, and obviously it doesn't become all right, series is over, we're done. It becomes all right, how do we continue to persevere? Who steps up? Next man up? That type of mentality, and provides, I think, fun storylines and interesting storylines.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think last week you gave me a hard time for having a first take argument where I was just taking the other side. That's not what we're here to do. So I actually do agree with you. I'm not going to try to argue that stars are the only reason that games are fun to watch. Quick question for you, because I think we debated this, not debated this, but we questioned this the other day. Is there anyone in the Eastern Conference Finals right now who's been to an NBA Finals other than Solomon Hill?
No.
I don't think there is.
He is. I mean, we should probably get a fact check on this before we release it.
Yeah, hey, can we get a fact check on that?
But I mean, yeah, in many ways, Solo is the beacon of light for the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, he's been there, and I mean, I feel like we're kind of like poking fun at Solo, which I actually am not a fan of because
no, not at all. I'm genuinely.
I would like to go on record and say that Solomon Hill is one of the best teammates I've ever had. And actually, from a locker room standpoint, and I mean, he's a really good basketball player. Defends, energy, offensively can shoot it, do different things, has some versatility. But where I think he really moves the needle, which doesn't get recognition from the masses, is in the locker room. And I think every single good team has guys like that. And he was a huge piece of our group last year and played in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the finals because of what he brought, just a physicality and a toughness. So.
We talk about this a little bit with the Friday Beers guys, actually, but just how important guys 10 to 14 are on an NBA roster. And glue guy, if we want to use a Friday Beers reference.
Sure.
But yeah, those are oftentimes the guys who move the needle, like you said.
Yeah, this has been a reoccurring theme on this podcast, but the general slander towards bench players, professional athletes who are bench players, any sport, whatever, pick your sport, I don't care. Like, I understand why it's fun and why it's funny, but you also have to look at these are like elite athletes. I mean, it's not to do it again, but like it's a scout thing, right? Like we always come back to it. Anyways, what else we got here?
No, I get it. For the record, I have incredible empathy for that because I was a bench guy.
That's true.
And I knew my role. Now I wasn't.
You're a damn good one. Seriously.
I wasn't an elite athlete, but I was the bench guy.
Some could argue.
And I was on really good teams that won championships, but I knew my role. I knew my role in practice was to help us get ready for games. I knew my role on the bench was to keep things positive. I embraced that role. Yeah. So Solo, I'm showing you no disrespect here. In fact, I relate to you, my friend.
That's
well,
beautiful.
you started a game in the NBA playoffs, so I don't relate to you that much. But I would never slander you on this podcast.
That's good. I appreciate that. That was a worthy apology. Yeah. What do we got? What else we got here?
Let's get to our Reddit question of the week. I have a good one for you actually, because I'm interested to hear your answer on this. I want to know the top 5 strongest players in the league.
Do you want to know, or do one of our users want to know? Reddit users.
Both. They're not our Reddit users, but
a Reddit user,
a NBA Reddit user. Memes of Production 202.
Love that.
Wants to know who the top 5 strongest players in the league are. I'm interested. We can take this either direction. We can either go like weight room strength, but I think what I'm more curious about is on the court strength, because I think those are slightly different. Like guys who can't really move off your spot.
Yeah.
Guys who get to their spot whenever they want, just out of that, like grown man strength, which is a little bit different than like picking up a barbell.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a unanimous number one. I think that it is almost widely accepted, and that's Steven Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Massive human being, incredibly kind soul, but he is massive.
Built of brick.
Yeah, and incredibly strong and knows it, and is a terror on particularly the offensive glass. Obviously, he's a great rebounder in general, but his offensive rebounding numbers are incredible.
I, for some reason, recently saw a picture of like a rookie Steven Adams.
Totally
short
different.
hair,
Yeah.
clean shaven, no tattoos.
Looks like a different human, yeah.
His current aesthetic is so much of a better fit for him.
It really is.
Because it does, he's just it seems
he's
like a
leaned
force.
into it fully.
Do you have moments, like if you had to box him out?
So he does this thing at the free throw line when he is offensive rebounding. So on the free throw line, if that makes sense. So his teammate is shooting a free throw.
Yeah, got it.
Right.
So someone needs to box him out.
So then obviously how it works in the NBA is one person is basically on their own, and then another person has an additional player to help box them out. I don't know if I'm explaining this right.
No, you are. But why is that? So you're saying there are 5 guys on the court, obviously. So if
there's 10 players on the court.
I'm sorry, per team.
Yes.
So if the other team is shooting a free throw,
you have 3.
You could have 4 though.
No, you can't.
You can't?
You're only allowed 3.
Wow, I didn't
This is
know
like
that.
basic NBA basketball rules.
In every other gym in America.
Yeah, the NBA is
Why,
not to
though?
be like
Can we
snobby. The NBA is not every other gym in America.
Oh,
I think it's
look at this guy.
No, I
Plays in
think
the
it's
NBA.
I think it's a. I imagine it's probably like a combination of size and having a paint crowd like overcrowded. Anyways,
All right, go on.
Anyways, Steven will when you're so for example, I'm usually the top guy of the three. So I'm getting ready to pinch the offensive rebounder. And as a result, Steven will always do this every single time. He'll grab the person next to him, and he'll just like squeeze their arm, just like messing with them to like see if they're like, strong enough to box him out. And it feels like an iron claw is just like surrounding your entire bicep. It's just he like engulfs your bicep, or at least my bicep, I should say.
He does this every time?
Yeah, he does it every time.
What is it? It's like feeling
Or he's
out
done it
his-
every time to me, at least.
Is he like gauging his competition?
I think it is. Yeah, it's some level of that. At which, when I feel that, I feel immediately inferior.
Where do you think you rank in the NBA? And there are 450 guys. Where are you in like bicep diameter?
Somewhere in the lower third, somewhere in the mix there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're like 372.
Yeah, somewhere in the lower third. Anyways, let's get through this. Let's keep it moving here.
You don't have to actually give me 5. Is it like Steven Adams? And
Steven Adams is one
By
and
far?
then it's some mix of Dwight Howard. Valanciunas is really strong. Honestly, Giannis is like Brook Lopez is really strong.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these are all the top 5 guaranteed,
yeah.
but like Zion is obviously, particularly for his height, is insanely strong. If we're talking like pound for pound strength, I imagine honestly Eric Bledsoe would be up there. He is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count Bam out. Bam is insanely strong as well. I mean, there's a lot, but if you're looking for a 1, it's Steven Adams.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I don't need you to rank the 5.
Cantor's really strong too. He's Cantor. Anyways, that's basically the strongest guys. Some combination. I'm probably leaving someone out. I mean, obviously LeBron is certainly strong as well, but
Steven Adams. It's basically Steven Adams and everybody
is the
else.
answer, yeah.
And Steven Adams gauges your bicep to know
Correct.
if you're going to be a threat on the free throw line box.
correct. All right, long shot feature. This one is an interesting one. I'm a fan of this one though. We got Richard Scott William Hutchinson, and this individual is the world's most premature baby
Yes.
in the history of the world. Is that true?
In the history of documenting premature babies, it
Right.
sounds like.
So he was 4.5 months premature. In many ways, the ultimate long shot. There's a fantastic quote that came with an article that covered his birth. It was just his first birthday a couple weeks ago. So he's now a year and a couple weeks old.
Yes.
And the quote is, quote, "The world loves it when the little guy, pitted against enormous obstacles, beats the odds and comes back to win. So you might say Richard Scott William Hutchinson, who celebrated his first birthday on June 5th, is the ultimate small but mighty contender." And I think in many ways that encapsulates the ethos of this podcast.
100%.
It's all about the small but mighty contender. And let me tell you, Richard Scott William Hutchinson has that in spades.
I mean, like you said, was born at 4.5 months, which means the mother's halfway through the pregnancy.
Right.
Was given a 0% chance of survival. 0. Now, I don't know, maybe that was like a 0% chance to make it to a year, which he's done. Maybe it was, I don't know what it was, but was given a 0% chance of
He's
survival.
truly an anomaly. I mean, I don't,
Just celebrated a first birthday.
I can't fully wrap my mind around how somebody can be given a 0% chance and then go on to live.
It does.
But
It kind of seems like maybe a bad reflection on the doctor.
potentially. Or he's just such an anomaly that like he's now one of one. He is the first ever.
Well, either way, he's certainly a long shot.
Yeah, at least statistically, he had a 0% chance but now obviously he's shattered that expectation.
Shout out to Richie.
Yeah, good old Richie. That's fantastic. Anyways, that basically wraps up the front of show.
Yes.
But yeah, please stay tuned for this interview. It's certainly entertaining. It goes all sorts of different directions, but I think you guys will really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's an amazing one. Really excited to have them on. I did want to try to get Justin Timberlake on. Tried to email him, but he still hasn't responded to me.
That's in the works.
We'll put that on the back burner.
Stay tuned for JT.
Yeah.
I'm not going to promise anything. But
No. We're manifesting it.
Okay, maybe at some point. Great. I love JT.
No disrespect to
2020 Experience. No. One of the greatest albums of all time.
Yes, fact.
All right. Here's Friday Beers.